Anthony Scaramucci, former White House Communications Director. You came from the investment world. It seems to me there are Democrats and some of the media who invested in an outcome.
There's no question
that the president was going to be brought down.
Or they're dug in. And so in the investment world, what you learn is that if you get overly emotional or overly attached to your investment, you can make really bad decisions. And so they're going overboard right now. So, looking through the report, are there things in there that I'm not in love with? Certainly, but let's start with the prima facie thing. He didn't do anything wrong. The president did not commit collusion. So how could you expect him 6 months into the presidency not to be frustrated or to express that frustration and righteous indignation about an investigation that turns out lasted over 2 years? So to me, they'd be way smarter. They want to try to beat him at the ballot box. So you're going to have a super tough time doing that because the economy is so strong. And he's generally very liked. As long as the president gets out there and he lists the things that he's done for the American people over the last 2.5 years, he's going to get reelected.
You've got this new focus by Democrats on obstruction and then, of course, impeachment as a possibility. Does that go anywhere?
I don't see how it could go anywhere. I think the smartest person is actually Speaker Pelosi. She said earlier, 6 weeks ago, no impeachment. She's still staying on that sideline. I get that people are trying to raise money off the notion of impeachment. I get the fact that they have fired up their base with a tremendous amount of anger, and so they therefore can generate revenue and capital off of that. But again, it's another very big mistake because the middle of the country, meaning moderates and independents, have had enough, and the right, it's already so far back in the rear view windshield. So to me, their best strategy would be, okay, who can we put in there that can compete with the president toe for toe on things like the economy, national security, and things like that?
As we go into the summer, the Democrats will be toe-to-toe. They'll be going at each other. What's the best thing this president and the White House can do? What should they be doing to lean forward to with the Mueller report behind them to set the tone?
Well, I think the president's got a real issue at the border. I think and he tried to cut an immigration deal with them before the midterms. And so if I were there offering him that advice, I would say, here are the 5 or 6 things that the American people really want. A growing economy, rising wages. They want this thing addressed at the border, and they want a resolution on the DACA/Dream situation. All of which the president has presented viable, common sense resolutions to. And so to me, I would just be repeating that mantra over and over again. And I would tell the president, relax. You won this thing, and in victory, magnanimity. You remember Winston Churchill said that? You and I are old enough to remember.
He always points to me. Pete's
no. Pete's a youngin'. You and I are old enough to remember Uncle Winnie. In victory, magnanimity. Be gracious in the victory. Let it slide. Go play golf and hang out. You're winning.
Yeah.
No need to shoot down at these people.
Before we move on to some other topics, Joe Biden expected to get in this coming week. Bernie Sanders did this town hall with Fox a few days back. He's got a lot of energy. How much do you think, as a capitalist, the president is itching to take on a socialist if the Democrats actually nominate Sanders?
Well, I mean, if they nominate Sanders, the only thing I would say to the president is, remember what Secretary Clinton said about you. What Secretary Clinton said is, I'm desperate to run against you. Okay, and of course, he cleaned her clock. Okay, and so we just always have to be on guard. Bernie Sanders, in some ways, and I know the president used to say this on the campaign, was a formidable guy. Okay, he's got energy, he's got charisma, and he can attract a crowd.
Money.
And so I don't want to be one of those people that loves the president and supports him and says, oh, we got nothing to worry about with Bernie Sanders. I would say, this guy's formidable. Let's amp up our game. Let's explain to the American people why a socialist experiment for 150 years on planet Earth has not worked. And why we have the best strategy, we have the best system to lift all boats in a society. So to me, I'm not saying I'm worried about Bernie Sanders, but I'm also not going to say, oh, that's going to be a no-brainer, we're going to slay him easily. Let's keep our guard up, and let's push very hard.
I can assure you I'm not the only one stocking up on popcorn for those debates, the Sanders-Trump debates. Oh, that would be some good stuff. I got to ask you about this new survey about millennials finding that they're financially dependent on their parents. 70% of adults ages 18 to 34 receive financial support from their parents in the last year. Also, 58% of adults ages 18 to 34 said they couldn't afford their current lifestyles without assistance from their parents. I read this. This is a huge problem. Why is this happening?
I think this has to do with my generation, frankly. And so, what basically happened to us, I have 3 millennials, and so what basically happened to us, I guess our parents sort of let us do whatever we wanted to do, and maybe it was a little scary for us. So we're snow plowing for our kids, we're helicoptering in on top of them, and we want to make sure that we're making their lives as easy as possible. That may or may not work. I don't know. We'll have to see. My kids seem to be doing pretty well, but I'm always pushing them to work hard, and I think the key to self-esteem and your personal success is hard work. Yeah. But I think this is a huge problem, and I think it stems from us. I mean, as you know, they say, the fish stinks from the head down. I mean, we're a bunch of babies. We baby these people.
Yeah.
And so it's my fault, I've had to cancel. My son's going to be mad at me. I've had to cancel my credit card. Stop using my credit card, okay? Please. Okay, I don't even want to tell you what's on there. When I look at it on my app, I'm like, are you kidding me? Calling American Express. Stop it. Stop using it.
All right, we're going to get you on the motorbike in a minute.
Wait, can you give us one item you found on the credit cards?
Yeah, just one.
Yeah, but it would have to be after dark.
All right.
Do we have a Fox? Do we have a Fox After Dark app? I mean, I could talk to Peter about this all night.
You know what? Maybe later. Fox Nation. We'll do a segment on it.
Thanks.
Anthony, thanks a lot. Appreciate it. Always good.
No collusion, no obstruction. This hoax that should never happen to another president again.
The president feeling vindicated after the Mueller report finds no evidence of Russian collusion.
So with the Mueller report behind us, how does the Trump administration plan to move forward and focus on their 2020 agenda?
Joining us now is the Chief of Staff to Vice President Mike Pence, Mark Short, former White House aide as well. Good to see you, Mark.
Ed, thanks for having me on.
So how do you think you move forward? You got the president now saying investigate the investigators. That's going to take some time. He's also tweeting just a moment ago about the strong economy. How does the Trump administration plan to deal with possible impeachment on one hand from Democrats who maybe still want to resist? How do you plan to move forward with your agenda?
Well, Ed, I think the American people are ready to move on, too. After multiple years of investigations and hundreds of subpoenas and literally millions of pages of documents handed over, the report is finished. I think, sadly, Speaker Pelosi will probably have a difficult time containing some of the people inside our own conference, and they'll look to continue to harass this president. But there's a lot we can still do for the American people. The vice president was at the border just a week ago and seeing the heart-wrenching humanitarian crisis that's there, and walking through some of the temporary detention centers, and seeing the fact that Customs and Border Patrol are talking to us about how young children are paired up with adults to bring them across the border, and then they're recycled back. The families are paid hundreds of dollars to basically use that child to bring them across the border, and 30% of the women are sexually abused in that pathway. We're asking for Congress's help in helping us to control the problem of the border. And not only is it a humanitarian crisis, guys, but that same day we were there, they told us they apprehended 2 Iranian nationals in that Yuma sector just the week before who were trying to evade Customs and Border Patrol. It's also a national security crisis.
Recycling children. Mark, just one more question about the White House. You're there every day. The mood inside the White House now that this report is out.
Well, Pete, as someone who was on the campaign, I guess I wasn't too surprised because I always knew there was no Russia collusion. So I guess there's a sense of relief that this is over, but there's also belief that we have so much more to do for the American people. In your last hour, you were talking about the record economy and the fact that there's been over 5 million jobs created since Donald Trump was elected president, over 500,000 manufacturing jobs alone, lowest unemployment ever for African Americans, lowest unemployment ever for Hispanic Americans. We have a trade deal that we're submitting to Congress that we think can actually help continue to improve the economy. It's a better negotiated deal with Canada and Mexico, and we're calling on Congress to act on that. There's a lot that we can still do to benefit the American people. Again, we hope that Democrats will work with us in actually doing things that benefit our economy and the American people, but they still seem stuck in wanting to do more harassment.
Yeah.
Mark, I got to ask you about Vice President Mike Pence and this commencement controversy at Taylor University. You have students outraged that the vice president would be coming to speak, saying they are triggered, they're shaking, they feel attacked. What do you make of all this? Last I checked, a university is supposed to be a place you go, or a college, to find diversity of thought. What's going on here?
Yeah, it's a great question, Jed. I think the vice president is very encouraged by the invitation. He's going to be speaking at multiple commencements in the next couple weeks. He's excited about the opportunity to share with young students the pathway they have upon graduation, how exciting their future is in this robust economy. But you're right, unfortunately, on many campuses today, there no longer is freedom of thought or freedom of expression or even celebrating diversity of ideas. Instead, there's one side of the debate that continues to try to be shut down. And that's unfortunate. But I think you'll actually hear the vice president talk into that controversy when he speaks at commencements.
All right. Well, speaking of universities, my recollection is that you went to UVA, so congratulations on that big championship. We haven't had a chance to do that.
It was a pretty exciting pathway, and it's a great victory for the team. And Coach Bennett is certainly somebody who is he's a great he's someone's a mentor for so many people.
Absolutely. Mark Sharp, appreciate you coming in.
Mark, thanks a lot.
Thanks for having me.